Every great facial routine starts long before you pick up a cleanser or warm a towel. It begins with understanding what your skin is actually dealing with day to day. Most people jump straight into solutions, scrubs, masks, pore strips, anything that promises instant results. But the truth is, you can't build an effective routine unless you know exactly what your skin needs from you. And your skin is always giving clues. Some people just haven't learned how to read them yet. When you look in the mirror, what you're really seeing is a reflection of everything your skin has been responding to. Your diet, your stress, your environment, your habits, even how you slept last night. The shine along your nose might not just be oil. It could be your skin trying to protect itself. The blackheads clustered on your chin might not be from dirt. They might be a sign of slower cell turnover or makeup that isn't fully washed away. The roughness on your cheeks might not be dryness alone. It could be your skin struggling to maintain balance after too many harsh products. When you begin studying these patterns with patience instead of frustration, the entire facial routine becomes more purposeful on understanding. Your skin means taking a moment to observe how it behaves throughout the day. Does it feel tight in the morning but greasy by afternoon? Does it look dull even though you're cleansing every night? Do blackheads return quickly after you remove them? These aren't random problems. They're signals pointing toward the kind of care your pores are asking for. And when you listen closely, you start to tailor your routine not based on trends, but based on your skin's actual behavior. A lot of people assume their skin is oily or dry without really watching how it acts. But true skin needs are far more specific. Oily skin might still be dehydrated. Dry skin might still get blackheads. Combination skin might be balanced one week and congested the next. When you build your routine on assumptions, you end up fighting your skin. But when you build it on observation, you start working with your skin instead. And that cooperation is what leads to clearer pores, fewer breakouts, and smoother texture. Once you understand the patterns, you also begin to understand the triggers. Blackheads don't just appear because pores feel like misbehaving. They show up when oil stays trapped too long. They form when dead skin isn't shedding properly. They become stubborn when the skin's barrier is compromised or irritated from over-cleansing. And acne has its own signals: deep congestion, sensitivity, inflammation. Recognizing these signals helps you know when your routine needs more hydration, when it needs more exfoliation, and when it needs to step back and let the skin reset. This is also where the emotional side of skincare plays a role. When you're stressed, your skin reacts. When you rush your routine, your skin feels it. When you're gentle and intentional, your skin responds with the same calm energy you give it. So understanding your skin isn't just about identifying what's happening on the surface. It's about noticing how your habits and your pace affect your complexion. And that awareness alone can completely change the way you care for your face. With a deeper understanding, you stop seeing blackheads as stubborn dots and start seeing them as signals that your pores need a little more consistency. You stop scrubbing aggressively because now you know the skin softens better when approached gently. You stop skipping your routine at night because you realize how much the skin relies on a clean slate before it begins its nightly repair. And you begin to choose products with intention, not impulse. A routine that truly works isn't built on intensity, it's built on awareness. When you understand your skin's needs, every step becomes smarter, every technique becomes safer, and every result becomes more lasting. Clarity begins the moment you learn to read the story your skin is already telling you. When we talk about achieving smooth, clear, refined skin, it's easy to jump straight to treatments, tools, or the big dramatic moments of extraction. But one thing that quietly makes or breaks the entire routine is how well we cleanse the skin, especially when we're talking about preventing blackheads and breakouts. Cleansing isn't just a quick rinse or a box you check because it's part of the routine. It's the foundation of everything that follows. And the moment you start treating it like the first real step of transformation rather than an afterthought, you'll feel the difference in the way your skin behaves, responds, and even looks throughout the day. So when we dig into the idea of understanding why blackheads form and how to prepare the skin before any deep treatment, we're really talking about getting the skin into a state where it's ready to release what's trapped inside it rather than fighting against you. Blackheads form when oil, dead skin cells, and debris settle into the pore, creating a plug that sits right at the surface. When the top of that plug is exposed to air, it oxidizes and turns dark. That's all it is. oxidized oil, and buildup. But when you don't cleanse properly, or when cleansing is rushed or too harsh, those plugs stay put. And the longer they sit there, the harder they become, the deeper they settle, and the more stubborn the skin becomes when you try to work on it later. So instead of thinking of cleansing as the moment you wash your face, start thinking of it as the moment you soften the environment your pores live in. With just a little more patience and intention, cleansing becomes the moment you start loosening congestion before you ever introduce steam, exfoliation, or extraction. A good cleanse begins with warmth and time. Letting a gentle cleanser sit on the skin for even a few extra seconds allows it to soften surface debris before you start moving it around. And the goal isn't scrubbing. Scrubbing creates irritation, irritation creates inflammation, and inflammation makes extractions painful and more difficult. The goal is to coax the buildup out, not fight it. When you massage a cleanser into the skin slowly, you're actually breaking down oil in a way that prepares the pores for what comes next. And the skin responds to that kindness. It opens up, it warms up, it starts to release things you didn't even realize were sitting there. Choosing the right cleanser matters too. When you're dealing with blackheads, you need something that clears without stripping. Ingredients like salicylic acid help dissolve buildup inside the pore, but they should be used gently and consistently rather than aggressively. A cleanser shouldn't make your skin feel tight. Tightness is your skin telling you it's been pushed too far. Instead, you want the skin to feel fresh and flexible after cleansing, because flexible skin makes for smoother extractions and far fewer complications later. And if the skin is already inflamed, red, or irritated before you even begin your deeper treatments, everything that follows becomes more challenging. And of course, a proper cleanse isn't complete without acknowledging the quiet role of double cleansing. When you remove makeup, sunscreen, oils, or heavy products with a first cleanse, it allows your second cleanse to actually reach the skin itself. This simple two-step rhythm ensures that what you're treating is bare skin, not a layer of product sitting on top. And once you get used to this approach, you'll notice fewer clogged pores, fewer stubborn blackheads, and a far more balanced complexion overall. It's the kind of subtle shift that delivers a major impact. But more than anything, preparing the skin is about respect. Respect for the skin's structure, respect for its ability to heal, and respect for the process you're about to guide it through. When the skin is warmed, softened, and properly cleansed, you're not just making extractions easier, you're protecting the skin from trauma, minimizing post-extraction swelling, and ensuring that everything you do afterwards settles into the skin smoothly and happily. You're giving the pores the chance to work with you instead of resisting you. And that's when the real transformation begins. Cleansing may feel like the simplest part of the routine, but when you elevate it, you elevate everything that follows. And clear, balanced skin becomes much more than a goal, it becomes an expectation. When we get into exfoliation, this is where the conversation shifts from simply clearing the surface to actually influencing the way your pores behave long term. Exfoliation is one of those steps that people either rush through or avoid altogether because they worry about irritation. But when it's done correctly, it becomes the bridge between cleansing and deep treatment. It prepares the skin in a way that no other step can. And what makes exfoliation so powerful is that it doesn't just remove what you can see, it targets what's hiding just beneath the surface, the early buildup that will become tomorrow's blackheads if it isn't cleared away today. The skin is constantly renewing itself, shedding cells that are ready to let go, but sometimes those cells don't shed efficiently. They cling to the surface, mix with oils, and settle into the pores. That's when congestion starts. Exfoliation steps in here to gently push the process along, to guide the skin through what it was trying to do on its own but wasn't doing quite effectively enough. And when you help the skin like that, rather than forcing it, scratching it, or surprising it, you create a healthier rhythm that supports clarity rather than working against it. There are different forms of exfoliation, and each serves a purpose. Chemical exfoliants like alpha hydroxy acids and beta hydroxy acids work by loosening the bonds between dull, dead skin cells so they can shed more easily. They melt away buildup inside pores, helping prevent blackheads before they form. On the other hand, physical exfoliation works on the surface level, giving just enough friction to lift debris that's clinging on. But the approach matters just as much as the product. You want gentle, controlled movements, not scrubbing like you're trying to erase something. The skin responds best to consistency, and even a mild exfoliant used regularly will outperform a harsh one used sporadically. What's beautiful about exfoliation is that it changes the way your skin feels under your fingertips. After a proper exfoliation, the skin becomes smoother, softer, and more responsive. And what that really means is that your pores are less restricted. When you follow this step right before treatments like steam, ASMR-style facial pressure, or extraction work, the skin allows you to get deeper without forcing anything. That's the moment when blackheads release more cleanly, when the pores look visibly clearer, and when the overall complexion appears more even. And exfoliation isn't just about what you remove, it's about what you make space for. When you clear away the layer of buildup that's been sitting on the surface, your serums, treatments, and moisturizers suddenly have a pathway into the skin. They don't just sit on top anymore, they penetrate more effectively. That's why someone who exfoliates properly sees results faster, especially when dealing with acne, blackheads, or rough texture. The skin becomes more receptive, more absorbent, and more balanced. Everything that comes afterward works better simply because the path is clear. But timing matters too. Exfoliating right after cleansing while the skin is still slightly warm and hydrated creates the perfect environment for the active ingredients to glide into the pores. When the skin is dry, harsh exfoliation can be irritating, but when the skin is prepped, well, the whole process feels smoother, easier, and more controlled. It's like opening a window in a stuffy room. You don't need to force anything, airflow just shifts naturally. There's also a mental shift that happens when you exfoliate slowly and intentionally. It becomes a moment of connection with your skin, where you're not rushing through a routine, but instead paying attention to the tiny textures that tell you what your skin needs. Roughness along the nose means more focus there. Smoothness on the cheeks means you're maintaining balance. That awareness helps you prevent issues before they start. And it's important to remember that exfoliation isn't a competition. You don't need to feel it burn, tingle intensely, or leave your skin flushed to know it's working. In fact, the gentler exfoliants often give the longest lasting results because they support the skin rather than shocking it. You want the skin to feel relieved afterward, not irritated. Healthy pores open more willingly when the skin is calm. At the end of the day, exfoliation enhances every other step of the routine by creating room for clarity to develop. It supports the skin's natural rhythm, smooths the path for deeper cleansing, and gives your pores the freedom to let go of what's clogging them. And when you treat the skin with that level of patience and intention, you set the stage for clearer, brighter days ahead. When we move into the actual extraction process, this is where precision, patience, and respect for the skin matter more than anything else. Extractions aren't about forcing something out of the pores. They're about giving the skin just the right amount of guidance so it can release buildup without trauma. By the time we reach this point in the routine, the skin has already been cleansed, softened, warmed, and exfoliated. It's in the perfect state for gentle pressure, and that preparation makes all the difference. When extractions are rushed or done on unprepared skin, that's when we see redness, swelling, irritation, or even long-lasting marks. But when you treat the skin like something delicate that still needs you to be firm enough to get the job done, you strike the balance that leads to clean, satisfying, safe results. The first thing to remember during extractions is that your pressure should always be controlled. You're guiding, not pushing. The angle matters. The direction matters. The steadiness of your hands matters. You want to press down and inward, not straight down into the pore. If you go directly downward, you risk pushing the blockage deeper, which only makes things worse. But when you angle your pressure slightly and gently roll the fingertip or tool around the pore, you encourage it to open from the top. The buildup rises naturally, almost as if it was waiting for that gentle nudge. It's a moment of release, not force. Lighting also plays a bigger role than people think. Good lighting lets you see the difference between a blackhead that's ready and one that still needs time. A ready blackhead sits closer to the surface. It has a defined opening, sometimes even a slight shadow around it. When you press, it responds quickly. The ones that resist, that stay stubborn, that feel rooted, those are the ones to leave alone for the moment. Nothing good comes from insisting. The pore will open on its own when the skin is prepared enough. Patience always pays off, and tools can help, but technique will always matter more. A comedone extractor used correctly can be incredibly effective, but used incorrectly, it can bruise the skin in an instant. If someone likes to use their fingertips, that's completely fine too. Just be sure they're wrapped in clean cotton, because the cotton provides a slight cushion that distributes the pressure and protects the skin from nails or slipping. The goal is always the same, a clean release with minimal impact. What surprises many people is that the sounds during extractions, those tiny pops, the soft, quick releases, can actually be soothing when done slowly and intentionally. That's why ASMR-inspired extraction sessions are so popular. There's something calming about watching a pore clear itself when everything is done gently and methodically. Even the sound of a cotton swab rolling across the skin or a tool gliding lightly can create a sense of relaxation, not tension. And when the person receiving the extraction feels that calm energy, their skin responds even better. Tension creates resistance. Relaxation creates openness. One of the biggest mistakes people make is doing too much in one session. Even if the skin is warm and soft, even if the pores seem willing, there's still a limit. Once the area starts to look flushed or swollen, that's the skin telling you it's had enough. Continuing past that point doesn't give you better results. It gives you irritation, and irritation can turn into hyperpigmentation, especially for deeper skin tones. The key is knowing when to step away. Leave some for next time. A series of gentle sessions always beats a single aggressive one. The nose is usually the area people focus on the most, and for good reason. The pores there tend to be larger, and the oil production is higher. But that also means extractions can be more satisfying there. The key is to work in small sections rather than attacking the whole area at once. Slow, steady progress gives you cleaner outcomes and less irritation. And in spots like the chin, which can be more sensitive, you need even lighter pressure. Sensitivity varies across the face, and understanding that is what leads to beautifully consistent results. When extractions are done thoughtfully, you're not just clearing pores, you're strengthening the skin, you're helping it reset, breathe, and function better. And the confidence someone gains when they see fewer bumps, smaller pores, and a smoother surface is something you can feel instantly, even before they say a word. Clean pores create clarity, but gentle extractions create trust between you and your skin. And when you honor that trust, the skin rewards you with results that speak for themselves. After finishing extractions, the skin enters a moment where it needs support more than anything else. It has just gone through a process that opened pores, released buildup, and created tiny pathways that weren't there before. Even when everything was done gently and with the right techniques, the skin is still in a vulnerable state, and this is where aftercare becomes absolutely essential. Think of it as guiding the skin back to balance, helping it settle, calm, and protect itself again. Without this step, the work you've just done won't hold, but with the right aftercare, the results become smoother, clearer, and longer lasting. The first thing the skin wants after extractions is calm. Not cold, not pressure, not anything that shocks it. Just gentle, soothing comfort. A cool compress or a soft cooling gel creates an immediate sense of relief. The coolness helps bring down any heat developing under the surface, and it gently tightens the pores without forcing them shut. That difference matters. You never want to snap pores closed, you want to coax them back into their natural shape. The skin responds so much better when you treat it like something that needs guidance, not correction. Hydration is the next essential step. After extractions, the skin loses a bit of moisture because of the pressure and the clearing of the pores. Replenishing that moisture restores its softness and flexibility. A lightweight calming serum, something with hyaluronic acid, niacinamide, or Centella asiatica can feel like a drink of water for freshly treated skin. These ingredients don't just hydrate, they also support repair, reduce redness, and strengthen the skin's barrier. And when the barrier feels supported, it holds on to clarity much longer. A gentle moisturizer seals everything in. You don't want anything heavy or greasy at this stage because the pores are still adjusting. Something soft, breathable, and soothing creates a protective layer without suffocating the skin. The goal is to help the skin feel comforted, not coated. When the moisturizer melds into the skin without residue, you know you've chosen the right one. For some people, a targeted treatment like a lightweight BHA or a post-extraction solution can help keep the pores clean in the days that follow, but it should never sting or burn. If it does, the formula is either too strong or the timing is wrong. The skin has just gone through a delicate process, and this moment isn't the time to challenge it. Treatments should feel like support, not punishment. Sun protection is another non-negotiable part of aftercare. After extractions, the skin becomes more sensitive to light, even if you don't see any redness. A gentle sunscreen shields the fresh, exposed layers from irritation and dark marks. People sometimes underestimate how quickly hyperpigmentation can develop on freshly exfoliated or extracted skin. A good sunscreen prevents that and keeps the complexion even and smooth. What's fascinating about aftercare is that it's not just physical, it's psychological too. When people look in the mirror right after extractions, they often see some pinkness or minor swelling. They need reassurance that this is normal, that it will settle, and that the clarity they came for is already on its way. When you give the skin the right soothing environment, the transformation can happen faster than they expect. Within hours, the skin shifts from slightly reactive to fresh and glowing. And this is where you start to see the true payoff of doing every step with intention. When the pores are clean and the skin is calm, the texture becomes visibly smoother. Makeup applies more evenly. The natural light reflects off the skin differently. Even the pores themselves look smaller, not because they actually shrink, but because they're no longer filled or irritated. Another part of aftercare that makes a world of difference is avoiding unnecessary touching. Freshly treated skin is tempting to inspect, but touching introduces bacteria and disrupts the healing process. The skin needs space to recover. Even simple things like changing pillowcases or avoiding heavy workouts right after treatment can support that recovery and keep the pores clear. What you do during aftercare determines not just how your skin looks today, but how it behaves in the days that follow. When you treat the skin gently, hydrate it properly, protect it from stress, and avoid irritation, it creates a smoother foundation for all future treatments. It's the moment where clarity settles in and the pores finally have a chance to rest. At the end of the day, aftercare is where the skin regains its strength, and strong skin holds on to results. Once the skin has been cleansed, exfoliated, treated, and soothed, the real work becomes maintaining those results day after day, because no matter how beautifully a single session goes, clarity only lasts if the routine becomes a rhythm, something the skin can rely on, something steady enough that the pores never have the chance to fall back into their old patterns. And this is where a long-term routine stops being a checklist and becomes a relationship. You start learning the small signals your skin gives you, the shifts in texture, the tiny bumps, the dullness that starts at the edges. When you pay attention, you can respond before those little changes turn into full congestion. Consistency doesn't mean doing every step every single day. That's actually the opposite of what the skin needs. It means knowing what to do on which days and giving the skin enough time to recover in between. For example, exfoliation twice or 3 times a week is usually enough for most people. Too much leads to irritation, and irritated skin doesn't behave well. Cleansing, on the other hand, is something the skin likes daily, but even that should be adjusted based on your environment. Hot weather, sweat, or pollution might require a deeper cleanse at night, while a gentle rinse in the morning may be all you need. The routine adapts because your skin is always communicating. Hydration is a long-term commitment too. Well-hydrated skin simply functions better, it sheds more efficiently, it produces oil in a more balanced way, it handles extractions more gracefully. Even pores that seem large or stubborn start behaving differently when the skin is consistently moisturized. And hydration doesn't always mean heavy creams. Sometimes it's about layering lightweight moisture in a way that keeps the skin soft without overwhelming it. When the skin feels flexible, it holds onto clarity with less effort. One of the most important parts of maintaining results is understanding triggers. Blackheads and acne don't just appear randomly. There's always a reason. It might be stress, lack of sleep, a change in climate, or even a shift in hormones. It might be a new product that seemed promising or a cleanser that is too drying. When you build a relationship with your skin over time, you start seeing patterns. You can say, this always happens on busy weeks, or my forehead reacts when I skip water, or my chin gets congested when I switch moisturizers. Knowing those patterns allows you to make adjustments early instead of dealing with flare-ups later. Another part of sustainable care is giving the skin breaks. Rest days are essential. These are days when you skip strong exfoliants, skip heavy treatments, and give the skin nothing but hydration and protection. These recovery days strengthen the barrier, reduce inflammation, and bring the skin back to its natural rhythm. Just like muscles need recovery after training, the skin needs downtime after active treatments. Those resting moments are what keep the complexion balanced and resilient. Lifestyle plays a subtle but undeniable role too. Sleep, hydration, and stress management all show up on the face sooner than most people realize. A consistent routine can help a lot, but when your body is tense or dehydrated, your pores react. It's not about perfection, it's about creating an environment where the skin can do its job without constant obstacles. Even small changes, like changing pillowcases more often, keeping hands off the face, or adding just one extra glass of water, have a way of showing up in clearer pores and smoother texture. The thing that helps maintain results long-term is incorporating gentle, pore-friendly habits every day. For example, rinsing your face after workouts before the sweat dries, avoiding overly thick makeup on hot days, or using non-comedogenic products that won't clog the pores. These little habits don't feel dramatic in the moment, but over weeks and months they reduce congestion significantly. That's how long-term clarity is built. Not by huge routines, but by small decisions repeated consistently. And then there's the mindset. When you start treating your routine not as a chore but as a moment of care, everything changes. You notice the skin softening. You notice the pores staying cleaner. You notice that you're no longer fighting your skin, you're working with it. That mindset turns a routine into a ritual, and rituals are what stay with us. The most beautiful results come from patients who don't rush, who don't chase overnight changes, who understand that calm, consistent care is what transforms the skin. When you give your complexion the time and attention it needs, it rewards you with clarity that lasts far beyond a single treatment. And when you honor the routine honors you back with skin that stays clear.